Every single person you admire for their success has a story of devastating setback that almost ended everything before it began. Rejection, failure, bankruptcy, being fired, being told no, over and over again. The difference between the people who become legendary and the millions who give up isn't that successful people avoid setbacks. It's that they've mastered turning setbacks into fuel for the very success everyone later admires. Today I'm going to walk you through the real, documented stories of some of the most successful people in the world, the setbacks that nearly broke them, and exactly how they turned those moments into the foundation of everything they later built. My name is Max. Welcome to Max Up the Wealth. Kindly subscribe and like this video. Let's get into it. Let's start with Elon Musk, one of the most recognized entrepreneurs in the world today, currently associated with Tesla, SpaceX, and other major ventures. But long before the success most people recognize, Musk faced setback after setback that would have ended most people's ambitions completely. In the early 2000s, after selling his early internet companies, Musk poured a significant portion of his personal fortune into two extremely ambitious ventures, SpaceX and Tesla, at the same time. Both companies faced near-catastrophic failures simultaneously in 2008. SpaceX had experienced 3 consecutive rocket launch failures, and the company was reportedly down to its very last opportunity, with limited remaining funds, to prove its rocket technology actually worked. A 4th failure would very likely have ended the company entirely. At the exact same time, Tesla was struggling to produce its first vehicles at scale, burning through cash reserves at an alarming rate, with production delays and mounting doubts from investors and the public about whether an electric vehicle company could ever be commercially viable. Musk has spoken publicly about how close both companies came to complete failure during this period, reportedly reaching a point where his personal finances were severely strained trying to keep both ventures alive. The 4th SpaceX launch in 2008 finally succeeded, reportedly with the company having enough resources for only that one final attempt. Around the same time, Tesla secured critical last-minute funding that allowed it to survive its most precarious financial period. Musk has publicly described this period as among the most difficult of his life, personally and financially. What can we learn from this? Musk didn't avoid the setback. He absorbed it directly, adjusted his approach, and continued pushing forward at a moment when quitting would have been the far easier and more understandable choice. The setback wasn't just something he survived. It became part of the foundation that later informed how both companies approached risk, iteration, and resilience in their subsequent, more successful years. Both SpaceX and Tesla went on to become industry-leading companies specifically because their founder chose to push through the exact moment most people would have walked away. Next, let's look at Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, one of the largest e-commerce companies in the world. Before building one of the most successful businesses in Chinese and global business history, Ma faced an extraordinary number of documented rejections and failures. Ma has publicly shared that he failed his university entrance exams multiple times before eventually being accepted into a teaching college, after failing to get into the university programs he originally wanted. He later applied for numerous jobs, including a widely referenced application to a major fast food company where, according to accounts he has shared, he was reportedly the only applicant out of dozens rejected for a position. Before founding Alibaba, Ma attempted several earlier business ventures that did not succeed as he had hoped. His initial attempts to raise funding for his internet business ideas were met with rejection after rejection from investors who did not believe in the potential of e-commerce in China during that early period of internet development. Alibaba itself, in its early years, faced severe financial difficulty and came close to running out of operating funds on multiple occasions before eventually securing the investment and market position that would later make it one of the most valuable companies in the world. Ma has spoken publicly about how these repeated rejections and near failures shaped his understanding of persistence and long-term vision, rather than deterring him from continuing to pursue his broader business ambitions. The lesson here is significant. Ma's path was defined by an extraordinary volume of rejection across education, employment, and early business attempts. Rather than treating each rejection as evidence he should stop, he treated each setback as data, adjusting his approach while maintaining his broader long-term vision for what he believed e-commerce could become in China and eventually globally. Again, let's look at Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential media figures in modern history. Early in her broadcasting career, Winfrey was removed from a position as a news anchor, with reports at the time suggesting she was considered unsuited for that specific type of television role. This professional setback, occurring early in her career, could have significantly derailed her path in media entirely. Instead, she transitioned toward a different format, daytime talk television, a shift that ultimately allowed her communication style and personal connection with audiences to become significant strengths, rather than the perceived weaknesses that had led to her earlier removal from a more traditional news anchor role. This pivot, following what was at the time a public professional setback, eventually led to the development of what became one of the most successful and long-running talk shows in television history. Winfrey has spoken about how this early setback, rather than being purely negative, ultimately redirected her toward a format and role that aligned much more closely with her actual strengths and natural communication abilities. Now, Walt Disney, founder of what became one of the largest entertainment companies in the world, faced significant early career setbacks that are well documented. Early in his career, Disney was reportedly let go from a newspaper job, with feedback at the time suggesting his creative work lacked sufficient imagination, a notably ironic piece of feedback given his later career. Disney also faced the failure of an earlier animation business venture, which went bankrupt before he went on to establish what would eventually become the Walt Disney Company. This early business failure meant starting over financially and professionally, rebuilding from a position of significant setback rather than steady early success. Additionally, in seeking financing and support for his early feature-length animated film projects, Disney reportedly faced considerable skepticism from within the industry about whether animated films could succeed as major feature releases, rather than simply short-form content. Despite this skepticism and his earlier business failure, Disney continued pursuing his vision, eventually producing groundbreaking animated films that established new standards for the entertainment industry. The consistent theme across Disney's early career, professional rejection, business failure, and industry skepticism, did not stop him from continuing to refine and pursue his creative and business vision, eventually building one of the most recognized entertainment companies in world history. Also, Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motor Company, experienced multiple business failures before achieving the success he's now remembered for. His first attempt at an automobile manufacturing company failed, and his subsequent venture also did not succeed as intended, leaving Ford having experienced significant business failure twice before his eventual, historically significant success with Ford Motor Company. These early failures meant Ford had to rebuild his reputation and secure new investment and support after having already experienced public business failure on more than one occasion, a situation that could easily have ended his pursuit of automobile manufacturing entirely, given the financial and reputational setbacks involved. Ford's eventual success with his subsequent venture, which introduced significant innovations in manufacturing processes that would go on to influence industrial production more broadly, came only after these earlier documented failures. His persistence through multiple failed attempts, rather than stopping after the first or even second failure, ultimately positioned him to build one of the most historically significant companies in industrial history. Now that we've walked through 5 real, documented stories, Musk, Ma, Winfrey, Disney, and Ford, notice the powerful pattern that emerges across every single one of them. None of them avoided setback. Every one of them experienced significant, often repeated failure and rejection before their eventual success. What separates them from the millions of people who face similar setbacks and give up isn't the absence of failure, it's their response to it. Each of these individuals treated setback as information rather than a final verdict. They adjusted their approach, sometimes significantly, while maintaining their broader vision and commitment to continuing forward. This is a learnable pattern, not simply an innate personality trait exclusive to a few exceptional individuals. When faced with your own setbacks, a failed business attempt, a job rejection, a project that didn't work out as planned, the question worth asking isn't, "Why did this happen to me?" but rather, "What does this setback teach me? And how do I adjust while continuing to move forward toward my broader goal?" So how do you actually apply this pattern to your own life? First, Separate the setback from your identity. A failed attempt doesn't mean you are a failure. It means that specific approach didn't work, which is valuable information for your next attempt. Second, look for the specific lesson within each setback, rather than only the pain of it. What does this particular failure reveal about what needs to change in your approach? Third, maintain your broader vision, even while adjusting your specific tactics. Every person we discussed today adjusted their methods significantly after setback, while maintaining their overall direction and ambition. Fourth, surround yourself with people and information that reinforce persistence, rather than reinforcing the idea that setback means you should quit. Setbacks are not evidence that you should stop. Across every single story we've covered today, setback was simply an early, painful chapter in a much longer story that eventually led to extraordinary success, precisely because these individuals refused to let that early chapter become the final one. Every setback you're currently facing could be an early chapter in your own success story, if you choose to respond to it the way these individuals did, by extracting a lesson, adjusting your approach, and continuing to move forward toward your larger vision. If this video inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe to Max Up for more videos on mindset, success, and building your best life. Comment below, which one of these stories resonated with you the most? I read every comment. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their current setback isn't the end of their story. I'll see you in the next one. Max up the wealth. Let's go.